everyone, welcome back to our channel. Today's video is a book review on Jon Krakauer's Under the Banner of Heaven. This book has been on my shelf for a while now, and I am a Jon Krakauer fan. I've read many of his books. You'll probably know him as the author of Into the Wild. This one is a nonfiction that is both true crime and very historical. And the reason I say that is because it follows two different storylines. The first being the murder of a mother and her daughter by the brothers Ron and Dan Lafferty, as well as the history, creation of the Mormon Church, as well as the formation of Mormon fundamentalists. The connection there is that Ron and Dan Lafferty are Mormon fundamentalists, and their religion influenced them to murder this woman and her child. So right off the bat, you can tell this book is going to be pretty intense, and it is also dense. Due to the fact that we follow two storylines, we have both the true crime aspect of the story, the chase for Dan and Ron Lafferty, the look into their history, why they are who they are, as well as the formation and growth of the Mormon Church and how Mormon fundamentalists came to be as a group, what they believe in, and how they currently function in today's society. I did find the true crime aspect of the story to be more interesting, probably because it was just easier to understand what was going on, as the murder happened in 1984, so the setting is something I can relate to, and I've read other true crime novels before. I don't think I've ever read a book about the history of a particular religion, and although this one does not focus solely on the history of Mormon fundamentalism, it does give you a very thorough timeline of Joseph Smith founding Mormonism, and then how the Mormon fundamentalist group broke off from the Mormons that we think of today in Salt Lake City. The Mormon fundamentalists, for those of you that don't know, are a sect of the Mormon Church that believe in polygamy. The main Mormon Church doesn't want to relate with them at all. They don't even like anybody talking about the fact that fundamentalists exist, but they do, and they have a stronghold in and around the Utah area, but they do also have groups living in both Canada and Mexico, different groups that have broken off from other groups and, you know, gone to stake their claim in other areas. So Mormon fundamentalists believe in having multiple wives, both a legal marriage as well as a lot of spirit wives, because polygamy is outlawed in the United States. The communities tend to keep within themselves. They're often not allowed to watch TV or to read newspapers that are from outside the community. They lead very different lives from the rest of us, which makes them fascinating, but also makes them a little scary because their way of life, their thinking is just so very different from most others. How they came to be that way is very fascinating, and although I did enjoy many aspects of the historical part of this book because some of it was very eye-opening, very scary, there were certain parts that were very dull, and they seemed to drag on a bit. There was a lot of names being thrown around, and I think because the settings were all over the place and it took place over many years, that it just was a little hard to follow at times. One great thing about this is that I did learn a lot, so I am a much more informed individual about Mormonism and Mormon fundamentalists as a whole, which I think is important for just being a better person and understanding why somebody or something is the way it is. I certainly can't say I agree with much of what they do, but I do know why, and that is important. It is also very evident how much research went into this book. A chunk of pages at the end is just the bibliography and the index and sort of follow-up from the reaction from the Mormon community after this book was sort of sent out in an advanced reader copy edition, basically. I can appreciate any book that's well researched, but I think it's particularly important in this one when you are looking at some pretty ugly truths within a community. Overall, I decided to give this book a 3.5 out of 5 stars. I did really enjoy the true crime aspect of the story and certain parts of the historical history of Mormonism and Mormon fundamentalism. However, there were some parts in the historical sections of the book that just really dragged on, and it felt kind of laborious, and I just wanted to get through those and move on. It's a good book, but it's certainly not one of my favorites. Krakauer has other books that I enjoy much more than this one. If you guys have read Under the Banner of Heaven, please let me know what you thought of it down below. As always, all of the links are in the doobly-doo. Please check those out if you feel so inclined. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you later.